playing with confidence. Surges it inside 50.
Inside 50, good hands.
Drilling it into centre half forward. That was end-to-end football at its best.
Back-to-back goals either side of quarter time.
They have done it, the Bulldogs!
I'd fight somebody for you. There ain't no wall I will run through. In your corner when you're ringing the bell, come hell or high water. I'd fight somebody for you.
Yes, hello WAFL fans. Welcome one and all to another edition of Around the WAFL. The last Monday night edition for a couple of weeks at least, because we've got our forthcoming finals edition beginning on Friday morning as we build up to the Sullivan Logistics WAFL Finals for 2026, and that is going to be one hell of a time as well. But tonight, we're here to recap the final round of the Sullivan Logistics WAFL Premiership season and a tremendously dramatic WAFLW Grand Final at Fremantle Oval, where everything happened and then some between East Fremantle and Swan Districts, and we'll hear from the victorious captain and coach of the Premiership team from Sunday. My name's Paul Persick. It's great to have your company, and just about as breathless as yours truly. In fact, he was rumoured to be dead from the waist down after being carted off in an ambulance. Ethan Roth. Rothy, congratulations on the call, first of all. Have you got your breath yet after the grand final?
G'day, Paul. Yes, thank you very much. Still trying to piece everything together, over 24 hours later, but what a day, what a story. I was saying to you off air, I think it's not only probably the best story in WA football, but potentially WA sport of 2026 with everything that East Fremantle had to go through. And yeah, I don't think anyone thought they were a chance, as I said on the call. And when you cast your mind back down to round one of this year, where they lost by over 50 points at that very venue against South Fremantle, they didn't score a goal on that day. To think they'd go on to win the Premiership and be the best team of all, doing it the hard way, doing it with wins in all three finals, a goal or under. It's literally the best story, I think, as I said, in WA football this year, and backs to the wall. And they had no right, really, to do what they did.
And the fact that also they came from third place, so they had to go through the hard way to beat South Fremantle and then Claremont in two sudden death finals, and then to do it again against the juggernaut Swan Districts, who were heavily favoured to win the Premiership, under a first-year coach and relatively a young playing group that includes a 19-year-old captain who comes from another successful football family. It's an amazing story, and it lifts the hearts of all football fans. And what we saw on Sunday, and what the fans out there saw on Sunday, just under 3,000 people that were there, it really is an uplifting story for all football fans right around WA.
Yeah, well, we mentioned the resilience, and that's obviously come to the forefront. But in a way, they also don't know any other way because, it's their first season together, coach, new captain. While there is some Premiership players, I think 4 Premiership players became multiple Premiership players, and Ash Atkins, a triple Premiership player in the new form. I think, they didn't know any other way as well, so they sort of went into the finals with essentially nothing to lose, and that worked into their favour in the end. At 9 points at three-quarter time, they were down at every exchange at 9 points. While it doesn't sound a lot, in a game like that where there was only a few goals scored and time that doesn't stop in WAFLW footy, it really just adds to what was an incredible victory, and probably their most significant of the ones they've won in the WAFLW. With all due respect to those flags in their own right, each flag has their own story. I think this year, with everything they had to go through, backs to the wall, probably elevates it to the top.
That's why football is so good to talk about, because you get to talk about these amazing, uplifting stories, no matter what club you support. And you summed it up quite well. It is uplifting, and it is the story of the year, no doubt about that so far in West Australian football. Along with the recap of the WAFLW Grand Final, of course, we'll have Ethan's Colts Report round 20 before week 1 of the finals. We had the 5 set on Saturday morning and night with the 4 Colts games, and also the final lot of votes for the Around the WAFL Player of the Year, Rothy. It comes down to 6, which later became 3 because several contenders were ruled out before the matches during round 20 with either injury or illness, so the field was cut in half. We can't do the show without our wonderful partners, of course. Sullivan Logistics, Front Row Screen Sport, District Promotions and Grants Car Stereo in Morley. Now, before we recap the WAFLW Grand Final in a little bit more detail, there is a bit of a please explain. What was with the chino suit on Saturday? My goodness, you were on fire this season, not just with your calls, but your sense of style too. Have you borrowed your sense of fashion from the great Mark Reddings? Because you were rocking the chino suit, and I thought you were going to be mobbed by fans everywhere.
Potentially. I didn't actually think of skate, funnily enough, but Yeah, it was obviously had to get up, dressed up for the occasion, and did that with a little bit of a left of centre pick. So, yeah, anyone that saw me on the day, feedback is welcome. But obviously I wasn't on camera. But having said that, I still had to live up to it.
You should have been off camera, mate, because you should have been on camera rather, because people out there were going, "Holy hell, is that a chino suit? That is something else, mate." My only advice next year, if you're selected for the grand final, which I know you are because you're a superstar, try velvet. Velvet will work every time.
Yeah, maybe it's just a mix and match here on in if I get enough opportunities. So, yeah, obviously, you've got to change things up a little bit and see what works, see what doesn't.
Fantastic stuff. Well, it worked this year, mate. You rocked it. Styling and profiling. Let's go to the game, the WAFLW Grand Final at Fremantle Oval this past Sunday. East Fremantle winning their 4th WAFLW flag in this decade, their 3rd in the current form, and of course one in the old WAFL. This time, they had to stop the juggernaut in Swan Districts, and they did. 3-5-23 to 2-7-19. And for Swan Districts, a wasted opportunity, having not been down at any stage in the season, but along came a hungry group of Sharks to stop the Swans' revenge tour in its tracks. And they did it with a clutch hero with minutes remaining.
Yeah, Sienna Jadowski-Brown is the folklore player that will be remembered for a long time to come for East Fremantle. That was part of their 2022 triumph in the Rogers Cup and delivers on the big stage at Fremantle Community Bank Oval. Only had the 5 disposals for the game, but that age-old saying, if it doesn't have to be your day, but it can be your moment, well and truly came to the forefront. So, yes, a very, very memorable moment for her, and great composure as well. The pressure, the clock ticking, straight in front, I know, but still had to nail the goal, which she did straight over the goal umpire's hat. And Swan Districts, you could say it was the unlosable game. Obviously, best team of year, minor premier. They didn't actually score a goal in both their finals, including the grand final as well. So it would have been a very remarkable feat if they did win it in the end without that stat. But yeah, they'd be devastated to say the least. Like, they were 14 from 14 when leading at three-quarter time of the year, and then the one that they lose is the one that matters most.
Of all the games, I don't think disappointed, shattered, angry or flattened does it any justice, because I've always had this philosophy in football. If you can't follow up your regular season form in the finals, including the day that matters the most, it's a wasted season, because last year they were in a grand final that they weren't expected to win, but they gave it everything. And we all talked about that Swan Districts were going to have that fire in the belly to make the grand final the next year. They did. And they expected to win. You can't expect to win on grand final day unless you get the job done. They didn't get the job done, and I'm sorry to say, they paid the price.
And they were inaccurate as well, weren't they? The Swans, Ash Sharp kicking 0-3 on the day. Well shut down by the likes of Teakle and Webb back there. But Swan Districts, I think last year, they were obviously disappointed. Don't get me wrong, a 1-point loss in a grand final, that was evident, but they were probably more just happy to be there. This year, they were the raging favourites, and it was an unfamiliar territory a little bit for them. But they had 15 players out there who were there last year as well. So there were only 6 players who didn't taste that loss in 2025 on the last day. So, it doesn't take away from the entirety of the year, of course. Minor premier, Jamie Henry won the Lunita medal as well, which is pretty rare in a losing side, and she's very likely to win the Dara Kerr medal, but didn't get the medal she wanted on the end. She had the 30 disposals, and she couldn't have done much more in the end, took a lot of good marks. And it was interesting as well, the top 5 disposal winners on the ground were all Swan Districts. I think it was Sienna Leslie who had 16, which was the most for East Fremantle. Not too many times a grand final with a leading disposal winner of 16 is going to get you the chocolates, but it did on this occasion. It just shows you that you can win the footy, but it's what you do with the footy when you win it, which East Fremantle did.
Especially in the second half when East Fremantle started to crawl their way back into the game, because Swan Districts, they still had control. They only had 1 goal on the board, but their defensive play really stood out in that first half. And then they seemed to tie towards the end, because East Fremantle were playing that rugged style of physical football in what was pretty good conditions, what would have been more conducive to free-flowing football in the end, but unfortunately it wasn't. But it's a credit to East Fremantle and their back 6. And you talk about Mackenzie Webb, I think it's fair to say she's the recruit of the year in the WAFLW competition. She's really broken out as to one of the best defenders in the competition. She shut down Ash Sharp. She had 7 tackles to go with her 12 disposals, but it's what she did in those moments that was so critical toward the second half, restricting Ash Sharp to 3 behinds. And her role that she played ultimately turned out to be decisive in the end.
I think Mac Webb could be the recruit of the year, actually.
Oh, yeah.
East Fremantle. You're looking back, and obviously came across from Claremont. Big move, and has the last laugh in the end. Of course, beat Georgia, her sister, in the preliminary final who was there to support her. And yeah, Mac Webb, she on the last line of defence just kept her cool in the end, didn't she? So part of that backline with the likes of Andrew Rayson and also a few others down there as well, Kaylin Crook as well. So yeah, East Fremantle, I'm sure the celebrations, deservingly so, should be going along into not just last night, but the days and weeks to follow.
It certainly will be going on for days, make no mistake about that. Another player for Swan Districts that is worth noting, Luca Davis, played more on a defensive half, on a winger, 22 disposals. I think it really shows that, you know, Jamie Henry, who seemed to tie towards the end, but had a lot of disposals nonetheless, 31 disposals and 11 tackles. She provided that great support role. And in the tackling department, they had great links with the likes of Summer Ajuk, who had 10 tackles to go with her 12 disposals. So the midfield unit really clicked, but it was those moments in the last quarter that really showed that Swans were looking tired, and it was only a matter of time before East Fremantle scored.
Yeah, and a standout player as well that's worth mentioning is Gemma Sly. She took her footy to another level this season, and that was no different on Grand Final day, particularly the way that she started the game. Michaela Grau as well in that similar reign. The young players stepping up to the plate. Unfortunately, couldn't be enough in the end there. But yep, Swan Districts, they'll have to lick their wounds and again. Third time the charm, they'll be hoping. But you know, it's very hard going back to the drawing board after a result like that in the end for them. So yeah, it is interesting the way that it panned out in the end. But I thought Chloe Colgate as well for East Fremantle.
Yeah.
The stat sheet might not reflect it a lot, but her presence, she was the only inclusion for either side, replacing Clotilde Decor, who fittingly actually had a premiership medal around her neck, the only omission from that side. So not sure if a player gave her one of their medals
Or David Eames,
whatnot.
maybe.
But anyway, Chloe Colgate, I should say, yeah, her first game since round 17. And you almost have to feel like that round 17 loss to Perth by 30 points. At the time, I didn't say it publicly, but was that the turning point? Because I thought, are they limping to the finish line here? Sure, they had some Rogers Cup players in that team, but if you had have told me that after that 30-point loss in round 17 that East Fremantle wouldn't lose a game from there and win the premiership, I would have been dumbfounded.
I'd go a week forward and say when they beat West Perth to earn that home final, when Tiani Teakle kicked that winning goal, was the turning point, because they had everything to play for. It was all on the line. If they hadn't beaten West Perth, they'd have to play at Fremantle Oval, where they got thrashed in the opening round and might have possibly re-experienced that again and had their finals campaign in right there and there. But they won that game and they didn't lose another match from there on in, as you said. So that moment, I reckon, really was the turning point. Not the loss to Perth in round 17, but 1 week forward against West Perth in round 18. And they had a spade of match winners when you think about it. Not just Teakle and Jersey Brown. They had a spade of them across the finals campaign.
Yeah, it's taken us a long time to mention Zoe Keeley. 2 goals on the day in a low-scoring team. She also had over 30 hit-outs as well. She, was up there in the Lou Nitter medal for sure. But, she was a key reason why Jersey Brown was able to kick the win in the first place. Drifted forward. That first goal she kicked as well. She had to outnumber 2 running players for Swan Districts in the forward line and ran into an open goal as well. So I think it's only bigger and better things for Zoe Keeley, who becomes a premiership ruck at a very young age.
What about the captain, Tiani Teakle? At 19 years of age, has already got a premiership medal around her neck. And it's a sensational journey she has been on. And I had the privilege of speaking with Tiani after the match in the midst of East Fremantle celebrations. Here it is. Tiani Teakle, you kicked the winning goal some 7 days ago in the preliminary final. Now you've got a premiership medal around your neck. Congratulations. Has it sunk in yet?
Not quite yet, I don't think. Yeah, it was super awesome. It's been a bit of a whirlwind of a final series, but super happy for the girls, and I can't believe we got the chocolate today.
Would this be one of your finest moments as a club? Because all of the hoopla in the off-season, player and coach sackings, fence sagas and all of that, would you say this is the finest moment?
Probably definitely up there, I think. Yeah, I think it's been a great reward for effort, and I'm super happy the girls got the win today. I think, we've definitely earned it.
The preparations during the week are always as intense as anything come grand final week. What was it like during the week from your perspective?
I think, just trying to make sure everyone enjoys the week. Grand finals don't come around super often. So I think, just trying to enjoy the week, stick to our normal process, get through training and things like that. And we managed to make it happen.
What about Jersey Brown? With minutes remaining, the hero kicking the winning goal as the cheers and the whistles come around as we speak. All the hysteria here at Fremantle Oval. What was it like when Jersey Brown got the goal to put your side in front? Was it like, okay, it's not over yet, get back to your zones, or did you think it might have been the match winner?
Yeah, I think it definitely was the match winner. It was a super clutch finish by her, so we back her in to kick those goals, which was awesome. But we know that we can defend those last couple of minutes, which we were able to do, and just get the stoppages happening, and managed to get the win, which was awesome.
What about Amber Kinane? That was the only concern. Amber Kinane, she received a pretty heavy knock. How is she feeling?
I think she's got a nice egg on her head, but I think having the Premiership medal around her neck. I think it's her 5th time going for a Premiership, so yeah, she's definitely earned that one tonight.
What about David Eames as a coach? Came in after all the hoopla, got a specialist skills background. What did he bring to the table do other coaches don't necessarily bring or need to bring to the competition?
Yeah, I think he definitely brought a different approach to what we kind of had been used to with our previous coaches. But yeah, he's been great. Just his kind of more of a laid-back approach, I would say, has been really beneficial for the girls here. Allows for our input and things like that. And yeah, it's obviously proven well.
4th premiership in this decade. Not only they've got a reputation for success in the WAFLW, but also a reputation of heart and resolve and desire, and that was elevated this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I'm really proud to be part of such a successful club. And there's lots of history behind that, and they've always been traditionally quite successful. So yeah, really happy to add to the Premiership tally.
And as a captain at such a very young age, with so much still to offer in the football world, would you feel that this one is going to be right up there in the mantelpiece of memorable moments in the Teakle family?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think that's kind of part of the reason why we play footy. Everyone loves Premiership, so yeah, I'm super happy to get the win today.
Well, on behalf of everyone at Around the Waffle, Tiani, congratulations, a well-deserved success. Enjoy all the celebrations.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
An elated captain, and she was still receiving a lot of cheers in the stands where we conducted the interview, and you could not wipe the smile off Tiani's face.
Yeah, terrific story, isn't it? A 19-year-old captain had to bring the group together at the start of the season with sort of unprecedented events that took place, but had the backing, and yes, she's 19, but she has maturity beyond her years with the way she plays, with the way she conducts herself off the field as well. And she could have left as well. Like, she could have gone to a South Fremantle. There was a number of clubs chasing her, but she stuck fat, and now she has the last laugh, and I reckon it will be that much sweeter.
But a captain can't have this great success without a coach. David Eames, his first year as coach, also had to play a role in bringing the club together after all the hoopla in the off-season, as now a Premiership coach in his first year. And I spoke with him as well after the match.
David Eames, first year as East Fremantle coach. You're a Premiership coach. That must have a good sound to it.
That's a bit exciting, that's for sure, yeah. I'm not sure. I don't think I even thought about that at the beginning of the year, but certainly we thought about it as a group along the way. And, you know, I said all along I thought this group were good enough, and we kept focusing on the things we do and stay in the game, and you give yourself a chance. So that's what today was about.
After all the off-season hoopla that had been going on, and the message that you said post-game was very I won't say ironic, but it was very prophetic, because, you know, East Fremantle, they'd gone through the ringer, but they only rose above to every challenge, and the way they did it was pretty much the story of the year.
Yeah, it was, and everybody, you know, thought they knew most of the story. I guess, you know, I wasn't from the inside, so I didn't know a lot of it, and the club protected me a fair bit from it, so I didn't need to deal with some of it. It was, you know, from an outsider, a lot of it was pretty selfish by a few people. They just wanted what they wanted. Sort of claimed that it was the group that wanted it, but that wasn't the case. We turned over a lot of players. There was a lot of negativity from the players that had left. You know, the Ash Gomes situation, and then, you know, lots of people wanted to make more of that. You know, I've said a few times that I wasn't surprised that she was not renewed at the club. You know, 100-game players in the men's game get moved on all the time. That's not an unusual thing. It's unusual in the women's game, and I get that. But, you know, the question start of every year is, are you going to be in our next premiership? And they made a decision she wasn't. As it turned out, we win in the very next year, but she's been a very good player at South Fremantle. So, you know, we renewed. We brought in a lot of players who, you know, were not regarded as stars of the game by any stretch. We weren't able to recruit a lot of players that we would have liked to. Mac Webb made a big difference, but the group became a really resilient, disciplined, focused group, and that's great to work with as a coach.
As a playing group in this grand final, what was obviously their main objective? Well, obviously to win against the Swan Districts side, but what were some of the areas in the game that you thought were going to be huge against the Swan side that were looking for, you know, a big completion to what has been a year of redemption until today?
Yeah, I mean, in past games we tried to combat Jamie Henry, you know, sort of directly, and I don't think that's achievable for our group. We didn't have a player who could really do that. We thought we could take a few away from her, and if we managed to play tight. But we had no one of her style of play to compete with that. Happy Atkins did a great job, and Chloe Colgate coming in of getting first hands, which was something we wanted to focus on. Can we get our hands on it first? And if we've got it, then she doesn't have it. She still did a lot of damage in the game, so she's a great player. But we really wanted to try and create turnover after she had it. That was the focus. We knew we would defend well. They have all year, so there's never a question, could they defend? And we thought if we could stay in the game, I said at half-time, this is not normal territory for them. They'd be a bit uncomfortable. This is too tight for them. They'd like a bit of breathing space. And they got another goal, which put a little gap in it. But at three-quarter time, I said 2 goals wins it, and this is it. You've got a little bit of breeze, take it.
Jersey Brown, the hero with minutes remaining. What were your thoughts inside that coach's box when Jersey Brown got that goal? Was it all over, or do you think there was still time to possibly have one more twist?
Oh, there's always a little bit of time, but the girls' game, it doesn't really move quickly when it gets tight. People get tense and they can't move the ball quickly. So I was confident we could control it if we were good. You've got to be tight, and there are good players throughout these teams, so somebody can do something special. But she was, her goal was outstanding. When she went back on, and Amber Canane came off injured, and the coach's box spoke to her before she went out and said, here's your chance to do something special. And
what is the story with Canane? Obviously she went off the ground.
Seems okay. I think it was a heavy knock. She was a bit dazed. I'm sure they'll check it as we go, but she seems okay.
What about that desire from the back line? Because we talked during the week about how stingy the East Fremantle back line is. They were when it mattered, wasn't it?
Yeah, quite... nice Georgia Mac Webb sister made up a little poster that, with the photos of the 3 key backs in Anjo, Tiani and Mac, and she's calling them the brick wall now, so I think they're quite happy about that. They've been great all year. I've said before, I don't really coach them a lot. I let them do the job the way they want to. They make really smart decisions. I think Angelique Razon's been underestimated a bit in her contribution this year. We moved her back. She's been a forward, but she plays a fairly aggressive in front role as a defender. But she's been outstanding, and she gave us real structure that we could work with once she went back.
Now the celebrations, you can bet they're going to go on for a very long time, because this premiership, your 4th in this decade, would be up there as one of the best. Against the odds, given what's been going on, I can imagine the celebrations will be extra special this evening.
They will be. I said when we played the final round, if we could win that, we'd get a home final. And I said this will be historic if you can pull this off. And it is, with everything that's gone on and before and where it's at and how we battled through the year. This is it's an amazing result.
David, congratulations on your first premiership and your first year as WAFLW coach. I think everyone will agree that it's a well-deserved premiership. Congratulations.
Cheers, thanks very much.
Well, really stoic in his perspective, and not mincing his words as far as the off-season negativity is concerned, but how the club rebuilt from that and how they presented a united front throughout the season to go on and win the premiership really is not just a testament to Teakle as a captain, but David Eames as a coach, to really get them to focus on the on-field aspect of the game.
He kept really calm, didn't he? I mean, even just watching him on the bench as I was calling the game, I mean, even when Jersey Brown was taking that kick before, after, you would have seen a lot of coaches animated in a grand final like that, but he just kept calm as if he trusted the process the whole way through. And even in the celebrations, they were really humble, and of course that's the way that East Fremantle like to do it, but they could have been forgiven for celebrating a lot more than they did, and really, giving it their all. Not to say they didn't. I'm sure they did in the celebrations afterwards as well. They wanted to be respectful of Swan Districts, of course. But yeah, I just thought they were so humble, and I almost thought that you guys deserve to be a bit more animated than this. It's almost like maybe they didn't quite process it at the time, and they were just going along with it. Credit to them for doing that. It clearly worked.
Yeah, it certainly did, and it's a testament to a great program at East Fremantle. Given all that what's been going on and everything that's they've had to deal with, it's a testament to what they can do when the challenge presents itself. It's a premiership born out of heart, desire, and proving a few people wrong.
Yeah, and it's good to see a lot of the former Sharks players on socials getting around. I know Noah McNaughton was watching after being over east with Fremantle. She was watching and posted a nice little reaction video. Zippy Fish as well,
Zippy,
former premiership player, and of course we know what she's doing in the AFLW with Sydney Swans. So yeah, the whole club in terms of alumni coming back or who used to be at the club got around it as well. So they're certainly supported well and truly far and wide.
Before we go to the break, a final reflection on the WAFLW season. You've been there in the inner circle covering the matches of the round. Was this season as dramatic as 2025?
Yeah, I think so. I think, obviously 2 different seasons in their own right, but the first season where we didn't see Claremont feature in the grand final since 21 and East Fremantle 4th in 5 years, so a little bit of similarity in terms of the same teams as well, and Swan Districts took another step as well. So, it was a really even contest, as it was last year. There was a couple of teams that could have made the finals right until the final round, and it's only going to get better. Hopefully there's some more recruits and there's more players coming up from the Rogers Cup as well, which we should congratulate Swan Districts for as well.
Yeah, the Rogers
It is quite
Cup.
fitting that Swan Districts and East Fremantle went one apiece in terms of Rogers and WAFLW as well. I know, the WAFLW is obviously the one that is obviously at the senior level, but Swan Districts, that shouldn't take away from a thrilling point that they won by a point.
Golden score nonetheless as well, so that might have been an omen for the day. So a fair result to end the season, 1 premiership each for Swan Districts and East Fremantle, and good to see the fans turn out as well on what was a wonderful Sunday of football out at Fremantle Oval. And we must say a huge thanks to all the 9 WAFLW clubs that took part on this show with interviews for the podcast and of course content on location, and of course the Player of the Year, which of course went to Jamie Henry in dominant style. So thanks so much to all the 9 clubs and their wonderful staff for helping around the Waffle across season 2026, and we look forward to doing it all again in season 2027 when we get back underway in March. We'll clear a break, and when we do come back, we'll chat round 20 of the Sullivan Logistics WAFL Premiership season. That one, by gee, was a cracker, as the race for the 5 reached its very climax, and it left 2 teams heartbroken and 2 teams elated as they get to take part in September action. We'll be back on Around the Waffle right after this.
Take it from me, great things happen at the Waffle.
Valentine rides and goals.
With free entry for kids, future stars on the ground, and a kick to kick at every break. The Waffle is where footy memories start and legends are made. Follow the Waffle on socials or get to a game.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
Thanks for joining us here on Around the Waffle on YouTube and where you get your podcast for your Monday night. Our last Monday night recap show for a few weeks as we build up to the finals edition that'll begin this Friday morning as we build up to week 1 of the Waffle finals. Paul Persick and Ethan Roth with you as we look at round 20, Rothy, of the Sullivan Logistics Waffle Premiership season. Starting off at Sullivan Logistics Stadium, a clash of the co-tenants, and it was Subiaco from start to finish that led. They started off with a 5-goal-to-1 first quarter and never looked back. They won the match by 35 points, but didn't do enough as East Perth were within that 7-goal threshold and remained in the 5. So it was a bit of bittersweet feeling for Subiaco, but they finished off on a high.
Yeah, mixed emotions as well. They have a comprehensive victory, but it's not enough in the end. A couple extra goals, easier said than done, would have been handy. But Yep, East Perth just do enough to hold on in the end in terms of the ladder, but not this game. Steph Jarrah was outstanding, 26 disposals and 1 goal. He could be on track for another outreach medal for Subiaco as their best and fairest. Hickmott the same, 26 disposals, and the midfield really got on top. Greg Clark, McGowan off half-back, Kelman as well. So Subiaco, they'd be disappointed they didn't make finals. They probably just had too many close games where they didn't get out on top in the end, but credit to East Perth for, I don't want to say winning the game, of course they didn't do that, but doing enough to restrict them not to kick a few more.
2 players that stood out to me in that last quarter when East Perth needed to make that push to 5th spot. Hamish Brayshaw, he had a big last quarter. His first game back after a major injury, after hamstring surgery. His first game since round 9. He really lifted and really got East Perth back into that finals bracket. He had 22 disposals, but was crucial in his usage around the stoppage. And Seb Kuek, he took a couple of big marks in that last quarter and kicked a crucial goal to keep East Perth alive. That's the Seb Kuek we've wanted to see for quite a while. The man that was unlucky to be left out of last year's League Grand Final side shows that he's still Mr. Electricity over there at East Perth.
Yeah, he can turn it on come finals time, so that'll be in the headache of opposition defences. But Hamish Brayshaw coming back. We thought he might have been done for the year, but gets back in the last round. It's interesting. They probably would have been tempted to rest him, but they knew it was sort of a do-or-die game, depending on results as well. So nonetheless, not the worst thing to get a bit of run into the legs heading into September.
Subiaco, spare a thought for them. They'd be the unlucky bunch. They'd only missed out on the 5 by 1.5%. No wonder football can be a cruel game at times. But you talked about Gyro. He was brilliant. 1 goal and 26 disposals. Jack Petrocelli in his 50th game kicked 3. Also did Jack Mayo, who spent some time in midfield and the rucking up forward. And Ryan Borchett, his form since coming back mid-season after a long spell out with injury really shows that Subiaco, if they had kept Borchett and Sokol in the forward line for the remainder of the season, if they didn't get injured, maybe that would have been the world of difference for Subiaco. Maybe they would have won those close games that they were in and could have snatched a spot in the 5 themselves.
Yeah, Noel Hibbins-Hargroves as well. He has added some strings to his bow, drifting forward as well to kick a couple on the day. But Subiaco, they almost felt like they had a player or 2 out, and then when they'd come back, they'd have another 1 or 2 players out. They just couldn't get that full team together at any given point in the year. But I think as we've highlighted throughout the year, yes, they'll be disappointed to not make finals. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to set yourself for. But Jared Schofield's first year back at the club, they've got bigger things in mind. I think another year into these guys that have come into the team recently, the guys like Sonny Ciano, Gather Cole, these sort of guys, another year into them and keep some of those older guys around. Interesting what happens with Jara. There was a bit of talk of him leaving this time last year. But yeah, I think Subiaco, they probably in a way maybe exceeded expectations. It's weird to say that without making finals, but I think they're going to be better for the run.
I think they did. I didn't expect them to really be a threat for the 5, but to really challenge for the 5. We made our picks pre-season. I thought Subiaco would be on the fringe of around 6th place, but to finish the way they did was very impressive. One player you left out of that is Fraser Rickson, the young ruckman with 37 hitouts. He's added another string to his bow in his game and his follow-up work, so that is a real big positive. And if they can keep the majority of that core stock that Subiaco have got right now under Jared Schofield, they'd be a real threat in 2027.
Yeah, and they might have a few come up as well because their Colts are in finals as well. Right. So, the pathway is there for Subiaco and Frickson. Yeah, he played Saturday in footy this year. An old-fashioned footballer, just puts his body on the line and not the most athletically gifted player, but I think at the same time he gives him a lot of grunt and competitiveness, and you know what you're going to get it from him week in, week out.
Still gives plenty, no doubt about that. And Subiaco, they gave plenty of their fans some optimism for 2027. They won the battle, but the Royals won the finals war and they remain in 5th place. Let's go to Fremantle Oval, Rothy, for the next game, and this one was a real cliffhanger. South Fremantle and Pure Thunder. The Bulldogs needed to win and hope other teams lost to remain in the 5. They not only won the match, but also earned a home final, and it was a thriller too by 4 points, 12-6-78 to Pure Thunder, 11-8-74. Pure not having the best momentum with 2 straight losses, but they do have the week off, having sealed the minor premiership a few weeks ago. But South Fremantle, they came with plenty of fight and bite, and it was not just delivered by Trey Rusco, who kicked a bag of 5. Chad Pearson really made the difference for me in the end, because with Pure Thunder's forward line still without Corey Tregenza, in that last quarter, Chad Pearson came to the fore with some great marking, and his wonderful effort in shutting down the Pure forwards with some great mobility and effective football was tremendous. 26 disposals to follow up that as well. But South Fremantle, they get to defend their premiership in September.
Yeah, it seemed like it could have been hanging by a thread. They could have missed out potentially. But as we spoke with Craig White last week, better late than never in the form of Trey Rusco. He comes back, and what a time to do so. 5 goals, hit the scoreboard last week in a big way as well. So Premier forward is back for them, and elimination final against East Perth. It's not going to be quite the grand final rematch, but still in a final they meet again. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, Peel Thunder, they're going to get players back though, and I think the beauty for them is because Fremantle's first final and a couple of finals will be here depending on exactly which way it pans out. And Peel the same, their players aren't going to be travelling as emergencies with Fremantle, as was the case against Carlton, because you had the likes of Juan go out of the team, Hugh Davies as well, which means they couldn't play on Saturday against South Fremantle.
Brennan Cox getting injured as well.
Yeah, so I think Peel Thunder, they're still the raging favourites at the moment. They would have liked to win this game, but they're going to get players back. O'Meara was good with 26 disposal. He's going to add a lot of depth and experience if he plays any final footy for Peel. Tardrew, we know what he's been doing all year as well. And Jeremy Sharp, obviously, wasn't in sight, but it's going to be interesting as well come Sandover night. Will this last game come back to bite him in that sense? Because you cast your mind back to last year, Matty Parker, who came runner-up, he didn't play the last game, and that meant Charlie Constable won it, well, not comfortably, but he won it knowing there was a round left.
That's right. Could the same fate happen with Jeremy Sharp? He only had the 7 disposals for what it's worth, but you talk about the likes of Wagner, 24, Darcy, 39, they were all tremendous as well. But not just Chad Pearson for South Fremantle, that was impressive. Likewise, Trey Rusco with 5, Lewis Rayson with 23, Jake Florenka with 20, Lucas Robinson starting to find his feet again after coming back in recent weeks due to injury. He only had 11 disposals, but I like the way he's going about it. He could be a big part of South Fremantle's finals campaign. If he just gets back into that pure form that he was in, then it could be the world of good for the young Robinson.
Yeah, he strikes me as a player who likes the finals pressure though as well, hits the scoreboard, and coming back from a lengthy stint, you could say, off the back of the 18s carnival. So, he's not going to be eligible for Colts finals, which would be interesting, but you think he'd hold his place in South Fremantle's league side. And,
I think he will.
Yeah, he can certainly, we know how recruiters watch the finals in particular. He can certainly bolster up the ranks with a huge final series.
Do you think Peel, the last 2 games both ended in defeats, narrow defeats, the wheels won't fall off their premiership fight because they'll still remain favourites, but you always want to go in with a lot of momentum. The week off will be a nice refresher for Peel Thunder because obviously they've had players out, but when they bring those players back in, i.e. the Dockers players that you mentioned and Corey Tregenza, they're still going to remain a devastating side. Yeah,
if anything, you probably don't want to be playing your best footy in round 20. I mean, you want to be thereabouts, but I think they're still going to be in a very good position as well. And I don't think it's the worst thing. If anything, it's a credit to them sealing the minor premiership and being able to lose 2 games at the back end. It's almost a luxury in a way.
How are they going to emerge from it, of course, when they take the field in the second semi-final? We'll find out then. But South Fremantle earning a home final in a real cliffhanger. Let's go now to the Good Grocer Park. Now, this is the only game that didn't have Final 5 consequences. East Fremantle and Swan Districts. And Swan Districts, thanks to a great first half, 8 goals to 4, they went on with the business and finished off what had been a tough year for them on a high note by 25 points. 15-11 to 11-10. And for East Fremantle, a disappointing day as they farewelled the likes of Montalban, Joyce and Jared Jansen, who played his milestone 150th game. But Swan Districts came out and spoiled the party, led by a young forward who's rising up through the ranks in Caleb Ernst, who kicked 5.
Yeah, it was the only dead rubber, if you want to allude it to that way. But still plenty on the line. East Fremantle, a lot of their guys moving on. Jared Jansen announcing his retirement. Kick 4, not a bad way to finish
good way to go
league
out.
Career. Versatile player and almost fitting in a way there. And also the likes of Montalban going out as well. Joyce, who obviously wasn't out there. But a bit of a rebuilding time for East Fremantle, as we know. But Swan Districts, a 25-point victory in the end for them. And Ernst has been a real find towards the back end. Not a household name coming into this year, but bobbed up when they needed to throughout the year. Harvey with 3, Kelly with 2, Coleman with 2, Reedy with 2. So all their goal kickers bar 1 were multiple goal kickers on the day. Cartwright being the only one that wasn't.
There's a lot of optimism for Swan Districts next year with their core stock, mostly being a lot of young kids that have come up through the Colts. And talk about the likes of Hinchcliffe, who adapted so well to WAFL, the former Big Bash cricketer. Jesse Turner continues to grow in miles as far as his fitness and durability goes. 41 disposals for him. And you talk about the stock that they're bringing in. Leo Steed could be drafted at the end of this year. He's a good young recruit. Cottaless is starting to show his form once again. And Caleb Ernst, as we said, 5 goals up through the ranks. So there's a lot of good signs for Swan Districts next year, and there's a lot of good players that are really blossoming into some fine young players.
Yeah, they are. Swan Districts, obviously you mentioned Hinchcliffe there. They'll hopefully get another year into him as well. Injuries playing a little bit of a part, obviously with the likes of Passini and co. Pena was sort of in and out, but had another 25 disposals on the day. So, Swan Districts, in a way, they would have loved the season to keep going after a win like this, but you do end it on a high. And For East Fremantle, don't want to say they limped to the finish line. They knew the end was in sight for a little while, and as we mentioned, a rebuilding group, and it might be a little bit of going backwards to go forward perhaps for them. I mean, we said that about the women's team and they won the premiership, so you don't want to make too many outlandish calls at the back end of the year.
But they do have some good young players coming up through the Colts that might be a key asset in the league next year. You know, Finley Yeo, if he doesn't get picked up, but he's been pretty much highly touted to be picked up in the draft. And you talk about the likes of Oliver McManus, even a couple of the other Colts players. Josh Nathan, Ben Wood as well. Kai Ormerod, by the way, we'll talk more about him a little later on in his first game back in 14 weeks. So, yeah, there's a lot of good young stock in that side, but largely the year was disappointing because of injuries, the loss of players, you know, Cody Leggett to retirement, Milan Murdoch, who got picked up by the Eagles, didn't play in the Eagles WAFL side once, by the way, and, Mitch Zaddo as well, who went to Port Adelaide. So there wasn't a lot going for East Fremantle, and it showed for much of the season, but there's always that rebuild phase, and they're going to be in it now.
Yeah, they also lost, a few players, like you mentioned there, and Avery as well.
Avery,
round one. It just got from bad to worse for East Fremantle, and the reserves, unfortunately, got belted each week, but players stepped up, and the guys, like we mentioned, Grills and company there, the experience is going to be invaluable for them as well. Congratulations to those retiring players, Jansen, Montalban, also Joyce. Wait to see what happens with the two Marshes and also Erdley as well, but regardless of what's happened, they've had tremendous WAFL careers and should be celebrated accordingly.
Absolutely. Swan Districts finishing the year off on a high at the Good Grocer Park on Saturday, and then Perth, they had to hold on to the double chance in another cliffhanger, this time against West Perth, who was celebrating 4 careers, Black, Nelson and the Rotham boys, but it was Perth that just scraped through by 5 points in a real cracker. But West Perth, they came in thick and fast in the final 10 minutes. They got a couple of late goals, and I'll say this, and I'll agree with the commentators that were there, Jimmy Williams and Dan Hobley, Jason Gabriel rather, and Dan Hobley, sorry fellas, if that game had been played for 5 more minutes, West Perth would have won the game. Make no mistake about it, because Perth were not as convincing as we expected them to be, and West Perth were building on this emotion that they had during the week, and they nearly got there.
They sure did. They had so much to play for to send out their retiring champions as well. So it always sort of served as a danger game for Perth. But having said that, they had something to play for as well, which was probably needed in the end. But 5-point win in the end. Knott and Glass McCaskill with 3 apiece on both sides. Keitel with 2 to close out his year. Sprigg with 2. Mulgrove, Sprigg and West with a goal apiece, and as I mentioned, Bodle, Edwards, Byrne, Klusky and more for Perth. They've got some players who wanted to hold their spots as well for Perth.
I tell you what, Glass McCaskill held his spot quite well. I reckon he could be a key in the finals. Spent those weeks in the reserves, didn't drop his head, continued to apply himself and put in the effort 100%. And I reckon he could be a key part in the finals. And the fact that he played most of the game up forward, adding a lot of tall timber to complement the likes of Edwards and Clark Clark, by the way, held to just 2 behinds, that gives Perth some extra flexibility in the forward line when need be, because they're going to come up against a very tough Claremont back 6 in the qualifying final.
Yeah, they sure will. And they needed that experience. I mean, Glass McCaskill, he cast him on back to this time last year, and he did the same thing. He came in late against East Fremantle in that elimination final, which they won. So he has sort of a track record of doing this late in the year, pulling out performances and doing it at a really crucial time as well. So he's very versatile, can play a second ruck role, can play backwards, forwards. I mean, he was on Carlton's list for a brief period, so he's clearly got the talent there, and now the experience more so towards the back end of his career.
And for West Perth, meanwhile, Tyler Keitel, he finished with 2 goals. Keegan Knott bobbed up with 3, and Keitel, by the way, sealing the Bernie Naylor medal for the 6th time. An amazing record for Tyler Keitel. Will he go on next year? Only time will tell.
Yeah, it will. You think he would, obviously, if he's up to it. And, you don't want to make any assumptions. But, Nelson with 41 in his last game, quite fitting. He found the ball on a string as he did throughout the course of his career.
So did Aaron Black,
32 as well. He pretty much achieved everything. 2-time premiership player, Sandover medal, played that one going for the West Coast Eagle, multiple times representing the state, and best and fairest. It just continued the resume of Aaron Black.
And even had an alternative alias, Jeff from Finance, of course.
Yeah, of course. That was a running joke from when he played that game for the West Coast Eagles. So, they couldn't quite get the result there, but, it's fitting. And end of an era as well, with a lot of those players going out. Also, change of coach, another coach, which has been a bit controversial, but, an ultimate reset. We talk about East Fremantle rebuilding. Well, I think West Perth are maybe a further step back.
Absolutely. Paul Sanzoni, of course, resigned after Thursday night's training. Before that game, of course, we recorded our Around the Waffle On Location preview that Thursday night, and after that recording, it was announced that Paul Sanzoni did resign, but there's been a lot of conjecture about whether it had been a communication breakdown from the senior players that drove him to the exit door, or did he resign on his own accord? Only time will tell. But there'll be a lot that will still be talked about in the weeks ahead over there at West Perth. But they put in a great effort to farewell their coach and those four legends. But Perth, like you said, they had a lot more to play for and they lived up to it, although they weren't as convincing as what we have seen. But they did achieve their goal. They locked in the double chance. They had Constable getting plenty of the football, 39. Archer Gardner with 20. Zach Harding in the ruck with 30. I reckon he's really established himself as that first-string ruckman to go up against Ollie Eastland in that qualifying final this weekend.
Yeah, it will be a mountain of a challenge, but some good form leading in as well. And that's going to be fascinating ruck battles to see who goes on and who has to play, the next week and a do-or-die final.
And on the subject of Ollie Eastland, of course, he and Claremont featured in the final game of the home and away season. You were on the call with this one with John Townsend, and this one was a crazy game. Claremont dominated in the first half, and then in the last quarter, the Eagles got to within 3 points, but then Claremont kicked the final 6 goals to run out 33-point winners, 20-10 to 14-13. An amazing game, Rothy, with 34 goals being scored.
Yeah, and all West Coast had to do was win in the end because of what happened with the East Perth Subiaco result. So a win for West Coast. Obviously, it started, it was started by the time those games were still on, but they would have been told that and knew the circumstances. There was 15 AFL-listed players out there, 7 out of contract, so we wait to see how many of them have played their last game in the Eagles jumper now. But, they had a 43-point margin to their name at quarter time at Claremont. You thought it would have been a blowout. And, how about Heath Melody? I mean, second game of footy, 33 disposals, a goal, 10 tackles as well. He is just, he could honestly be a top 5 pick in the national draft. He could be the highest pick that we've seen in over a decade, perhaps. A little bit to play out there, but he made a little bit of skill errors by foot at times, but kicked a goal crucial late and just such a silky smooth mover, lightly framed, but he was joined by George Gale as well, kicked one of the best goals you'll see on debut from the boundary.
He made a gale force impact, no pun intended, in that game because, that goal, but also his ability all round the contest was brilliant. We can say the same thing with Heath Melody. Those two are going to be big parts of WA football's future because they are supremely great talents. They've got very good skill set and they're very mobile as well. And you got to be in the modern game, and they showed that and then some in that win. Yeah,
they won't be in the WAFL for long, I don't think. So Claremont have to make the most of it when they can, but I think they've done well and truly enough to hold their spot because Claremont's reserves actually won't be playing finals, which is unusual. Their Colts, of course, will, but those players, Melody hasn't qualified, or he has with Staradine's game. So, but will he debut in a Colts final series after putting up over 30 in a goal? I don't know. I think
he'll be in the league finals.
Prescott would be very tempted to make him.
He'll be in the league finals.
Say to Mark Cossum, no, he's mine. But Claremont, Kieran Gowdy, it was his best outing since the early stage of 2025 with a bag of 5. Headland with 3. Musica with 3 started the game very well. DeLacy with 2. Van Rooyen presented the target all day with 2. Banfield coming in as an inclusion, hit the scoreboard. Burton Elliott was great all day. England, Gale and Melody. And for the West Coast Eagles, they'd be disappointed because they had a chance to make finals for the first time since 2019. They got back within 3 points in the fourth quarter after being down by 36 points. And you kind of scratch your head and think, why didn't they put Hutchinson in the middle a bit earlier? Because when he went in there, he got about 5 clearances next to his name in the last quarter, and they started to come back.
Yeah, he gone and had 22 disposals in that game. And why did they take him out of the middle? It's going to be anybody's guess. Only Kyle Horsley could answer that. But nonetheless, Claremont just overran them in those final 15 minutes. But going on the West Coast side, Grego with 24, he was brilliant. Likewise with Hutchinson, Finley McRae with 25 disposals, and Caleb Datson, the former Bulldog player, bobbed up with 3 goals. Shannon Lucassen with 2 goals from 11 disposals. And the Eagles, while they had a disappointing finish, I reckon they can look positively at this season and say, hey, we made some great strides this season. We could threaten for the finals in 2027. 10 wins for the season, their best haul since 2019. 10 wins and they missed the 5. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's better than the 2019 season in terms of win-loss, but they miss out, which is, I guess, a credit to how close the competition is and other teams as well. But we can't be too critical. Yes, they could have won and made finals and be playing an elimination final, but I mean, you'd probably take this at the start of the year if you said this is what West Coast are going to do, being in the last game for a shot in finals with 5 wooden spoons next to their name as well. So, it was a success, and hopefully bigger things for them. Obviously, they're going to go to the draft again and take some young players. Some players will, of course, depart the club as well. So you've got a bit of a yin and yang there. But, I think the West Coast Eagles, maybe they'll have to wait an extra year. But could it be 2027? Time will tell.
I reckon so, because if they keep the majority of the players that they've got, I reckon it could be huge, because their WAFL core has performed better than their AFL core by a long way. They're even more AFL standard than the AFL side at the moment.
I think the good thing that they've done, and they've tried it a little bit in the past, and of course you're probably only going to get 1 to 2 of these a year max, is the guys that got delisted from AFL. So Callum Jamieson, a perfect example. He got delisted from the AFL team, and understandably, most people would walk away because your time's up as a professional footballer there in your career and you want to move on. But he actually stayed as the WAFL team as a non-AFL listed player as their captain. So if there's any chance for that for the guys who are going to be delisted to stay in the WAFL team after not getting an AFL contract, then that's going to help because clearly they've been at AFL level and it just helps with the morale and the continuity of being there in past years.
Yeah, they've had great continuity this year, and let's see if they can grow it in 2027. So it's an opportunity presenting for Kyle Horsley. But that's round 20 done. And that's the home and away season done. The final ladder after 20 rounds of competition looks like this. Peel Thunder are minor premiers. They finish a win ahead of Claremont. Then comes Perth on 44 points. South Fremantle and East Perth just get there. They make their way into the 5 at the expense of the unlucky Subiaco and West Coast, who miss out on percentage. Swan Districts, East Fremantle and West Perth rounding out the bottom half of the ladder. So we started with 10 teams. 5 go out. 5 remain in the finals race. Okay, for the final time this year, it's the Player of the Year votes. Now, we started this past week with 6 players still in contention. Scott didn't play, Cleaver didn't play, and Rogers didn't play. So, relatively now, it comes down to Charlie Dean, Lockie Tardrew, and Finley McRae of the West Coast Eagles. Now, they are on 15, 12, and 11 votes, respectively. And this is how the round 20 votes went down. 1 vote. Jack Mayo of Subiaco. Now, he finished off the year on a great note. Now, he's more than just a forward. He's a ruckman and can play inside the contest, and he was magnificent. And I reckon he's going to, remain a big part of the Subiaco lineup in 2027. 2 votes. Shane Nelson of West Perth, in his final game, had the ball on a string, played trademark Shane Nelson football, best way to go out. So Charlie Dean didn't poll. Does he stay in front? That's the big question. 3 votes. Swan Districts, Caleb Ernst. If he's going to remain in that forward line, if Lee Coleman continues, I reckon the ideal man to go to if Coleman gets well held is Caleb Ernst. He's got similar height, but he's got a little more muscle on him, is Caleb Ernst, and he can take those big marks and kick those big goals. He is going to be a star forward in the future. So a great job by Caleb Ernst, 5 goals. 4 votes. South Fremantle, Chad Pearson. That was a captain's game, under pressure, with the stakes high. And as a defender, if you're a defender and captain, you play that role to perfection. And he did exactly that on Saturday against South Fremantle. And the final top gun of the year, Claremont, Kieran Gowdy. He is a tall forward. Don't put him on the wing. Don't put him in the midfield. He's a tall forward. Okay, he's got a little extra pace, which is a big skill to have. But he's more situated as a forward. Ash Prescott, if he continues to put Kieran Gowdy in that attacking 50 as a tall forward, he can kick 5 or 6 goals any week, and he did that against the West Coast Eagles. So, with all that in mind, I am pleased to announce, on behalf of everyone here at Around the Waffle, that the 2026 Around the Waffle Player of the Year is Charlie Dean of Perth, the reliable defender who's come over from Collingwood and has taken to the WAFL like a duck to water. And Charlie Dean wins it by just 2 votes in the top 10, unchanged.
Yeah, maybe he'll have the matchup on Gowdy when they meet. So, you mentioned Gowdy there, and obviously, with Hunter going out of the side, he's a pivotal player, takes out the top gun for this week, but he's going to have a player like Charlie Dean for company, and congratulations to Charlie Dean for taking it out. A low sort of vote count, but that makes it thrilling towards the end. And a great player, obviously lockdown defender, takes a good mark, often on the last line of defence. And who says defenders can't win these sort of individual awards? Well, the Around the Waffle Player of the Year has just put that to bed.
Absolutely. Charlie Dean will be presented with the medal within the next couple of weeks, and the medal is all thanks to the fine folks at the Trophy Shop Australia who constructed the medal for Jamie Henry when she won the WAFLW Player of the Year. So once again, our congratulations to Charlie Dean, this year's Around the Waffle Player of the Year, and I reckon the Deans will be very happy with that indeed. We're going to clear one final break, and when we do come back, Rothy's going to have his Colts report, and the build-up to the finals really begins. It is all thanks to Grant's Car Stereo, Front Row Screens, Sullivan Logistics, and Grant's Car Stereo. Back with all the finals build-up after this.
Take it from me, great things happen at the Waffle.
Valentine rides and goals.
With free entry for kids, future stars on the ground, and a kick-to-kick at every break. The Waffle is where footy memories start and legends are made. Follow the Waffle on socials or get to a game.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
Back with us here on Around the Waffle. We're not too far away from wrapping things up. Of course, our last Monday night recap show for at least a few weeks before the finals really begins. But before we wrap things up, better late than never, last round of the Colts, Rothy, and gee, wasn't there some big thrashings? But we start off with the only way it could possibly end. A draw on Saturday night between West Perth and Perth.
Yeah, you were on the call for this one, and a draw. I think it was the only one for the year.
First one in 2 years since round 2 of 24.
So it happened to the last game. Luckily for these two sides, I mean, their fate was already decided in terms of West Perth being in the elimination final and Perth not being able to make it. But under lights, after all the celebrations from the West Perth players going out, 55 apiece in the end. Probably West Perth's game that they should have won. Perth, maybe got away with one in the end. But
they were already in the 5 anyway, so it was a bit inconsequential. But there was a bit of spite in that game as well. A couple of Perth and West Perth players got into a dust-up in the third quarter.
Yeah, there's a few crossover in terms of like school footy and how players know each other. 18s, of course, Campbell Craig came back into the lineup, and Cody Lee wasn't there. He was playing for the Eagles, but a lot of his mates were in the action for Perth, and draw in the end. But that was the only close results because we had 125 walloping of South Freo to Peel. They were happy the season's over. Subiaco belted East Perth a lot more one-sided than the round 1 showing, and East Fremantle were very, very comprehensive against Swan Districts, winning by 118 in the end. So those teams that aren't making the finals, they'd just be happy it's over. And that's probably what they were thinking for a large part of those games. They would have gone in as underdogs anyway. But those teams, no signs heading into finals of any cobwebs.
Now, your wonderful show, Brain Ethan, of course, focuses on the under-18s. And there was one player I reckon you should have in your top 5, Kai Omerod. Now, he was brilliant. Now, he'd come back from a severe wrist injury, which sidelined him from round 6. And he came back on Saturday and kicked 5 goals. He could be a huge key for the Sharks finals campaign when they get back underway in the second semi-final.
Yeah, he was there last year and he's been playing Colts for a while. I think he played as a double bottom major in 2024, thereabouts.
He did, yes.
He's a big presence, brings the ball to ground if he's not taking big clunks himself. A player to watch out for the league, for East Fremantle in the future, reserves as well. I'm sure it won't be too long before he gets an opportunity, but he's one of those players trying to go a step or two further. Preliminary final last year, and they take out the minor premiership. Congratulations to them on percentage, and yes, those teams who didn't make finals, they'd just be happy it's over, I think. And I think it's fair to say we have the best 5 sides in the Colts finals.
And that is, of course, East Fremantle, South Fremantle, Claremont, Subiaco and West Perth. Speaking of the finals times and dates, they were confirmed. We'll start off with you in the Colts. When does the first week of the Colts finals begin and what will go down?
Yeah, this Saturday at River Fitness Stadium. Obviously, the home ground advantage goes the way of the league setup, but on this occasion, it's actually fitting because the Colts actually have the home ground advantage. So Claremont taking on... Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one there, but I was just looking at the league. It's Claremont-Perth, just to clear that up. But nonetheless, it's a replay of last year's Grand Final finals week 1. It's South Fremantle and Claremont at River Fitness Stadium. Double chance for the loser there. Subiaco and West Perth on the Sunday at Fremantle Community Bank Oval in the elimination final as well. So I think East Fremantle, Claremont and South Fremantle are the best 3 teams. But as we know, as we saw in the WAFLW competition, there can be a bolt from the blue. There can be a team who comes in with momentum, doing it the hard way. And that'll be the aim of Subiaco and West Perth, 2 teams that have regularly featured in finals for the last 3 or 4 years.
Can't wait for the first week of the finals. It's going to be sensational. And during the WAFLW Grand Final day, we did get those times confirmed by WA Football. And we'll recap recap those again, as Ethan Roth alluded to. Colts at Revo Fitness Stadium Saturday. That's qualifying final day. It begins with the Colts, South Fremantle and Claremont from 8:50. The reserves is East Perth and Perth in the qualifying final from 11:25, and then the main event, the league qualifying final, Claremont and Perth from 2:10 on Saturday, and then we go to Sunday, the elimination final at Fremantle Oval. We see Subiaco and West Perth do battle in the Colts from 8:50. The reserve sees Peel Thunder and West Perth battle it out in the elimination final from 11:25, and then at 2:10 at Fremantle Oval, the main event, the elimination final between South Fremantle and East Perth. If finals doesn't get your heart racing, Rothy, I don't know what will.
Yeah, let's hope it can live up to the billing of what we saw in the WAFLW competition. One season ends, but one goes into the very exciting point. And good luck to teams this weekend. Of course, the elimination final will be teams that come out of that, but such is the double chance that teams will be able to make the most of as well.
Absolutely. Rothy, great job as always. Again, congrats on the call on Sunday, and let's hope that voice remains intact.
Thank you, Paul. Great to see you there as well, supporting the grand final. Year round, the WAFL breakdowns were brilliant. So, check them out, people, if you haven't already, to get a further recap on obviously what we discussed today. And, big final series as well, with you behind the mic as well. So looking forward to tuning in when you're on the calls.
And the breakdown will be back throughout the final series as well. That's the last of the Monday recap shows for 2026. So a big thanks to all the WAFLW and WAFLW clubs that have supported us in providing us interviews with players and coaches. Our theme song, Bon Jovi's Fight Somebody. Thank you guys. A ripper song to fire all the footy fans up. But now we get into the finals. And as we leave our fans tonight from our recap program, as they say, there's nothing better than finals football in September. 5 teams remain. The Premiership race is well and truly on.